There are some upgrades that totally transform the way your bike looks, and then there are upgrades like this. Subtle, simple, but once you've tried them, you find yourself wondering, why on earth didn't I do this sooner? Today I'm fitting Hitchcock's handlebar relocators to my Interceptor, a small tweak that promises big comfort gains. I'll show you how they fit, take the bike out for a spin, and see if they actually make a noticeable difference in comfort. Let's go. Right then, here they are, designed and made right here in good old Blighty. These little beauties are machined from solid aluminium. They let you nudge your bars forwards or backwards by up to 25mm, which might not sound like much, but in handlebar terms, that's practically a time zone. You'll also gain a cheeky 5mm in height. Not exactly Everest, but will it make a difference? We'll find out later. In the kit, you get 2 longer bolts and a pair of spacers. I'll show you exactly where those go in just a minute. It's time to get the old parts removed. Before I start working on the bike, I'm covering up the fuel tank with a microfiber towel. I don't want to scratch my tank, not today. With a 6mm Allen key socket, I'm loosening off the bolts for the handlebar clamps. I'm not fully removing them at this point, I'm just cracking them off. Now I need to loosen the 14mm bolts from underneath. To make access easier, I'm turning the handlebars. I'm using my shoulder to stop the handlebars turning towards me when I loosen the bolts. As you can see through my facial expressions, these bolts are FT. And as you might have guessed, I need to repeat the process on the opposite side. I can now fully remove the top 4 mounting bolts. These bolts and the upper sections of the handlebar clamps need to be refitted, so I'll put them to the side for now. I'm now laying the handlebars to rest on the top of the fuel tank, removing the 2 lower bolts and the lower section of the handlebar clamps. Next up, it's time to remove these bad boys. Getting the original spacers out is a bit fiddly, but nothing too dramatic. I used an angled pick to give them a little nudge from underneath, just enough to sneak in a couple of trim tools from the top and gently work them loose. You'll notice I'm using plastic here when levering against the clamps, because the last thing you want is to gouge up the paint on those. We're upgrading comfort, not wrecking cosmetics. A bit of lubricant helped too, just enough to persuade things along without it turning into a wrestling match. With everything now removed, it's time to crack on with the fun bit, getting the new relocators installed and seeing just how much difference this little mod can make. Right then, fitting everything back together is pretty much the reverse of what we've just done, only now you get to see the good stuff going on. First up, the new spacers. You'll notice they're slightly taller than the originals, and that's where we're gaining that modest but welcome 5mm of extra bar height. Next, it's time for the real stars of the show, the handlebar relocators themselves. Take a look at the mounting holes. I'm opting for the ones furthest away from me, which brings the bars slightly back towards the rider. If you're lankier than me or just like a bit more reach, you'd go the opposite way. I'm nipping the bolts up for now, but not fully torquing them yet. We need a bit of wiggle room to get the bars into place. Now, these are a tight fit, and that's exactly what you want. These will be rock solid once torqued down. With the relocators in place and the handlebars centered, I refitted the original upper clamps using a dab of blue Loctite, which is optional. These got gently snugged up by hand first, then the lower bolts were torqued to a reassuring 45 Nm. After that, I set the bar angle and evenly tightened the upper clamps, making sure the front and the rear gaps were equal. Final torque on those, 20 Newton meters, lovely. That's the Hitchcock's handlebar relocators completed. Imagine if that bolt would have snapped then. Right, so here's my first impression of the Hitchcock's handlebar relocators. The handlebars now are 25mm closer to me and 5mm higher. Let's see what that feels like. So straight away, it feels a lot more relaxed. Before fitting these, I'd have to basically fully lock out my arms to get into a comfortable upright riding position. Whereas now, I'm comfortable, but I've also got, I hope you can see from that angle, I've got a slight kink in my elbow. Now that kink is going to take a lot of weight off my wrists and also off my shoulders. Some of you might be thinking, Jack, why didn't you fit some handlebar risers? I think they're overkill on the Interceptor, and I'm not really a fan of how they look. I think they look a bit out of place. The Interceptor is a roadster. It's not a scrambler. I don't really feel the need to have my arms way up here. You know, I'm never going to be hitting any green lanes or trails on this thing, so I'm not going to be up on the pegs, wanting that extra height. As always, whenever I fit a new part to my Interceptor, I like to go out and test it on the road. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. And at the end of the ride, I'm going to let you know if I think that the Hitchcock's handlebar relocators are worth you spending your hard-earned money on. Let's go. After just a short ride, I can definitely say that the difference is noticeable. Paired with the GT Premium Touring seat, the riding position feels much more relaxed and comfortable, just as I'd hoped. I've got to say, I really rate the quality of these relocators. They don't stand out as some obvious aftermarket part. In fact, you'd be hard pressed to tell they weren't a factory fit. The paint finish matches perfectly with the upper factory handlebar clamps, which is a nice touch. Something else I noticed, and this might sound a bit daft, is that accessing the ignition with the key is actually easier now. The space below the dials looks a lot more open and less cluttered, which just makes the cockpit feel that bit more refined. I'm also genuinely happy to see the back of the lower clamp section. The finish on mine was awful, like it had been chopped off with a hacksaw. Now it all looks spot on. Oh, and I completely forgot to mention earlier, but Hitchcocks do recommend checking your cables and brake lines after fitting these, just to be on the safe side. They've not had any issues reported, and neither did I, but still, start the bike and turn the bars lock to lock. If the revs pick up, your throttle cable's too tight. So, would I recommend these? Absolutely. If you want to reduce that stretched out feeling on the Interceptor, but like me, aren't keen on big risers, these are a no-brainer. Easy to fit, brilliantly made, and genuinely a bargain. I could literally sit on this bench all day and just look at that bike. How sad does that sound? And also a bit biased. Anyway, it's just started to rain now. I'm going to wrap the video up in just a second. The Interceptor's really starting to take shape now, thanks to Hitchcock's. I've started to put my own stamp on it. If you want to get your hands on the handlebar relocators, I will put a link for them in the description below. As always, thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon. And someone's just drove past, and now I look like an absolute sausage. Oh my God. Oh.